Welcome to the Beyond the Business podcast. We got Sebastian Hidalgo with us in the house. He's a strategist, speaker, and author. We've been connected on LinkedIn a very long time, but I was like, got to get him on the call, got to get his insight, got to read his book and gain this connection. And let's learn from him business, strategy, marketing, plus whatever else he brings to the show. How's it going, Sebastian?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to add anything to the introduction?
I'm a strategy consultant. I work a lot with companies. I help companies make more money. That's it in a nutshell. How I do that is through positioning, differentiation, and a bunch of other things I will not bore you with. Yeah, what I'm up to, just improving my craft, always studying, and today here with you, luckily.
The show's pretty simple. We divide it into 3 sections. First is the short question section, then long question, and then the millionaire insight. This is the insight that you gained from the last 10 years or that you think will make you a millionaire. When it comes to short questions, I got 23 AI generated questions. Just choose 3 numbers.
3?
Yeah, just 3 numbers.
7, 9.
Okay, question 3. How would you describe the mission or purpose behind your work?
Oh, I love it. So I divide this in 2 parts usually. There's a personal part. The personal part is very dear to me, which is I say that if I want my work to have any impact, like my legacy, right, is when it's all said and done, I want to have played a role in ending Alzheimer's disease, either through donations or any kind of support to the cause. And I would like people from South America, because I'm originally from South America, to look at me and think, if he did it, if he made these many things and achieved all this, I can do it too. So that's the personal one. On industry level, I would say my purpose is to create this community of clients of mine that thrive. I want to see every person I work with be able to turn their business into something not only they're proud of, but they could have never imagined. Like they went from competing on price and being a commodity and seeing clients go to cheaper competitors or to competitors that were more established in the market, to having clients just want to work with them and feel accomplished when they sign with them. That's what I want to do just as a professional.
Question 7. What role does innovation play in what you do?
I love your AI generated questions. Innovation is a complex thing, right? Innovation, there is this preconception in our society that all innovation is good. However, I could put a honk on an airplane and that would be innovation, but it wouldn't be serving anyone to have an airplane that honks. So there is useful innovation and there is terrible innovation. And I do like the idea and I'm always trying to innovate. And to me, innovation means connecting the dots between topics, expertises, and maybe even industries that nobody has ever connected before. And that's how I go about what I do. I try to connect different fields and different areas of expertise into the solutions I provide to clients. And that's how I like to see the way I innovate.
And then question 9. Who are some of your biggest influences or mentors?
Oh, I love this one. I recently paid for a mentorship, and shout out to Tori Dolly, who's also on X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. He's a brand strategist and he's achieved great things. He's living the life that he wants. And those are big reasons why I started working with him. Another mentor, I would say, I don't know him personally, but a big influence of me is Myron Golden. Myron Golden is a business coach who approaches business from a biblical perspective, and I'm big into the Bible. So that's a huge influence. And, we were talking about this before starting the show. I would definitely count Gary Vee as one of my influences because of, been listening to that guy for 12 years and he hasn't missed a shot in all that time. Definitely a big influence on me.
I love that. Diving into the long question section, when you're describing your purpose, you describe the personal and an industry one. Do you think it's important for people to have both?
I think so, right? Because your personal purpose is not necessarily something all the people that work with you will care about. Anyway, you still need to communicate because there is a business upside, but there is also something about letting people know that you're not just about the money. People like to be part of journeys. People like to support good things. And the key here, though, is that you have to believe in it. Like I didn't come up with Alzheimer's disease out of nowhere. It's something that's been in my family. Both my grandmothers had it, so it hits me personally. So it has to come from a place of truth, and that's how your personal purpose becomes relevant. Now, the professional purpose is even better because through your professional purpose, you position yourself against something that you disagree with in the industry, which in my case is that I see many consultants come in and just start kissing ass of CEOs instead of giving real value. And I really don't like that about the consulting model. I understand that's politics. I understand there is a bunch of interest in the middle, but the value of a consultant is leaving a place better than you found it, not just coming into a company, laying off a bunch of people and saying, hey, your company is more profitable now because on paper it says more profitable. Of course it is. You just laid off 10, 20% of the personnel. It's going to look profitable on paper. It isn't. Like, you see what's happening with Boeing right now. I bet you, I guarantee you, there are agencies that have gone to Boeing and told them, do this, do that, cut costs here and cut costs there. The result is what we see right now. Of course, I'm not taking any accountability from the current leadership, but still, the advisory that they have brought in, if they have brought in any, has been terrible. So that's why I think you gotta have a professional part of your purpose, because it enables you to express what you dislike about an industry and how you intend to change it.
I love that. I love that. Going back to the Boeing example you were describing, and I think doing what you described is very short term when business is very long term, and you need to have a long term strategy as well. It's like, yes, you can look at short term, but like what Hermosi said, there's no end in mind. The goal of business is just to stay in business and to keep spreading the purpose, right?
Yes, it's also endemic to publicly traded companies. It's hard because the market expects you to meet goals quarterly. Mm-hmm. So for these people at the top of a company like Boeing and other companies, having a long-term strategy becomes very hard unless you're getting very good advice and you have people like very good consultants helping you stay the course. Because the thing is, the quarterly performance model is there to maximize shareholder profit, which is a good thing. All of us want to maximize profits. The issue is when maximizing profits comes at the expense of the quality of your service, and in particular of the quality of your product, that in their case happens to carry millions of people each day because it's an airplane, then you are protecting shareholder interest, but you are on the long term, you're undermining it. And what we see right now is the consequences of several years of short-term strategies that were meant to maximize shareholder value and ended up destroying shareholder value, because I don't think the shareholders are in any way happy about what's going on with the company.
Going from consulting to the marketing side, when it comes to marketing and positioning, you talk a lot about your book, Are You a Ford or Ferrari? You talk about how to position, and you just mentioned earlier how many compete on price, but you can't compete on price, obviously. How would you position yourself to not compete on price? Is that where brand comes in?
That's where brand comes in, and that's actually when positioning per se comes in, right? Positioning is the heart of brand, but it's also the heart of sales. Mm-hmm. You have people on the internet that will tell you that the magic pill is copywriting, that the magic pill is this and that you have to run ads, you have to spend on ads. Everybody's got the silver bullet to solve your issues. The thing is, no matter how much you market, for example, we can take what Gary Vaynerchuk says and start posting 5 times a day on 5 different platforms. However, if your positioning is not there, you will just be wasting energy, because positioning is a formula that identifies who you help, what problem they have, what do you help them with, and what makes you different from others. If any of these parts of the equation are not there or are not refined, all your marketing is going to do 2 things. It's going to, 1, not convert, which means you're going to waste money, or 2, which is worse, you're going to send customers to your competitors. Because let's put it this way, you probably read the example in the book. It's like most companies have a blog that they use for SEO purposes where they feature expert opinions or whatever. Let's say that it goes very well. You post an article, and 6 months later, your ideal customer who's looking to find a new provider reads your article. And your article explains why they need what you are selling. What happens is that your customer reads the article and goes, wow, they are right. I really need this service. And if you did things correctly, which is you help this prospect understand why you are the go-to person and why you are different from all the other competitors. If you did that correctly, you're going to get the customer because they're going to fill out the form. Your sales team is going to get notified, or your marketing team, and they're going to go through the pipeline. Now, if you forgot, or in like the case of most companies, because 9 times out of 10, you ask people what makes you unique and why should they buy from you, they don't know how to answer. So if you failed to identify why you're different and why you are the go-to person for a specific thing, then your prospect will read the article, will say, wow, Braden is right. I need to fix this issue. They will research you, which is fine. We want them to do that, but they will Google it. Service provider for anything I need. So they will Google that, and they will find your competitors who are advertising on Google. And here's where the terrible situation comes, whereby your competitors can afford big budgets to advertise to people searching for those keywords. So usually, if they have more budget than you, means they are more established than you. Mm-hmm. So your prospect, since you are undifferentiated, your prospect will land on their website. They will see the big name, and 2 things are going to happen again. They either go for the big name because they have the budget, and they're going to say, I can't. So let me go back to Braden. And now you have, let's say you are the company.
Yeah.
In this case, you have a chance, right? Because they came back to you. And you think it's all good, I'm going to convince them. But then they're also going to be shopping around. And they're going to also ask Matt. And Matt is going to offer them the same thing. And he's going to tell them, but I know Braden. He provides a great service, but he offers it at $100,000. And Matt is going to go, I can make it at $10,000. And that's where the race to the bottom starts spiraling. Because Matt, your client, you didn't tell your prospect. You didn't tell the prospect why you are different. So between you, 100K, and Matt, 10K, it looks like the same thing. And not knowing what's the difference and why you are the one for them, they will pick Matt because everybody wants to save money, not just to gain money. And that's why positioning matters. Because the wrong positioning will either have you ignored by your customers, or they will go for the big name or the cheap name. And you will be there in the middle, stuck, wondering why? Because I'm spending marketing budget. I'm trying to do outreach. I'm doing all the things by the corporate book. And yet the only way I do business is referrals. And this is the conundrum in which a lot of companies find themselves in. They're getting business by referral and it's stable. But if they go dry, they are not getting results from either marketing or sales. And when that clash happens, is where revenue starts tanking, is where you start cutting costs and you start laying off people.
I think many businesses, like you said, out there are running into this problem. And it goes back to what you were saying before. Like there's one giant and there's a bunch of Goliath, Davids, right? I was like, how does the David face Goliath?
That's interesting. Are you a Bible reader?
I am.
Because, well, so but the audience will probably not know that when David fought Goliath, David didn't just go out there, grab his, what's the weapon called? The sling. He didn't grab the sling and hit him. When David came in, people offered David shields, they offered him spears, swords, bow and arrow. David had at his disposal an arsenal of things he could use to beat the giant, right? But David was wise enough to look at all these things and say, hey, I don't know how to use any of these. I will beat Goliath with the only thing I know how to use because I've been using this for my entire life, the sling. And here's where I'm gonna go to something that I call benchmark slavery. Most companies are slave to benchmark analysis. What do I mean by that? Let's go again to the example of David versus Goliath. If David had used benchmark slavery, he would have looked at the options, like the weapons, and he would have tried to evaluate with data, because everybody loves the word data. With data, he would have seen the strongest warriors that kill more people are using, let's say, the spear. So I have more chances of beating Goliath by grabbing a spear and going out there and killing him, ignoring everything else. That would have been a data-driven decision that would have gotten him killed. How do companies replicate this? Companies will go out during the market, they will have a service, a price, and they will look at all the competitors. And they will see, they are using these words on the website, and they are writing these kind of articles, and they are offering these services. So I'm going to use the same words. I'm going to look at 3 competitors, which usually are very big. I'm going to use the same words. I'm going to replicate 1 service from this and 2 services from this other competitor. And then I'm going to more or less price it the same. And I'm going to create my own company offering the same thing they do. The issue is you have the data, but you lack the context. The context of David was that he was a scrawny small kid with a sling with no military experience. The context of people who are slaves to benchmark analysis is that, yes, you are copying everything the big competitors do right and wrong, but you don't have their positioning, and you cannot copy positioning. So what I'm going to with this is, if you want to win in a market, if you want to win against Goliath, you cannot play on trends. Okay, let's say that AI came out, and now you want to say that your company is AI. But do you have the capabilities to develop an AI product? Do you have the programmers, or are you just taking an API, plugging it into your solution, and saying, now we are AI first? And so you get to this space where you don't have as a company, you don't have the capabilities, the knowledge to deliver something, but you saw it done by a big competitor and you start doing it. That's a game you will lose. One of the best ways to position yourself as a company is to find out what I call force multipliers, which is the best practices, the unique knowledge, the stuff that makes your company unique, and the stuff that makes the service you deliver unique. And by unique, I don't mean like, oh my God, it's pink and the clients have it blue. I mean, how do you deliver differently that creates more value in the market? How does this achieve a better result? Which skills do you have that enable this? And that thing should be the core of your positioning, because if not, you are David trying to kill Goliath with a sword, even though you don't know how to use one. And you always want to be David killing Goliath with a sling, because it might not be the best weapon. It might not be a weapon at all, but in the eyes of the other people, but it is the thing you know how to use best. So partly positioning and strategy are a game of playing games you can win. I hope that answers.
That does. Going when it comes to that, what Hermosi says, and I'm going to see if you agree, is he says sometimes it can look like a weakness, but it's actually your strength. Like, say you're a small company and you're facing a big company. The big company is like, oh, you're just a number. You're just another client. When the small company can be like, hey, I'm going to work with you one-on-one. I'm going to spend more time with you, more positioning, more time, more hours, more money. You know what I mean? Do you agree with that, though? Do you think?
I agree. Because again, you have to play games you can win, and you will never beat the big ones at their game. Their game is reputation. Their game is proven results. But the big weakness all big companies will have inherently is that they move slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but yes, you are buying into the brand name. Let's say you want to work with McKinsey. You say, oh my God, we're getting consulted by McKinsey. Yes, but you didn't think about the fact that you are not a Fortune 500 company. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to give you an abstract example. I'm going to give you a real example.
Okay.
IT company in a European country. I'm not going to identify more than that, but IT company grows to 500 employees. Revenue fucking explodes. And they go, it's time to hire the Boston Consulting Group because we want the A players in the market to help us keep growing. Amazing. The logic doesn't falter until you start thinking about the fact that, okay, you hired the BCG, but you are not a Fortune 500 company. So the Boston Consulting Group will not send you the team of seniors that have been doing this for 20 years and can actually turn you into an amazing case study. The Boston Consulting Group will leverage their brand to attract you and to charge you. Back then, in that specific case I'm telling you about, the IT European company was, I think, like over 20K a month or 30K a month, and charge you that amount of money to send you the D team, the P team of juniors backed by some guy that's a senior and maybe had some time to oversee the project. And you are going to become the testing ground for their new skills because they just came out of school. They need to learn somewhere. And they are not going to learn in a Fortune 500 company, of course. That's too much damage. But your small company with 500 employees, it's perfect because nobody knows the name of that company. If something goes wrong, who saw it? Like a tree fell in a forest. Nobody was there. Did it fall? We don't know. So you get with big companies, Hormoz is right. With big companies, you get the B team. With a small company, you get the dedication, you get the grit. And I have this conversation all the time. So this is, of course, I'm partisan here, but it's also the truth. Like sometimes you want to work with the founder, with the vision behind the company, instead of just going with the behemoth Goliath that's going to send you some guy who just wants to make money because he's 22 and just graduated. So Hormoz is completely right. As a small player, you need to play you need to fight battles you can win. You can win on quality service. On everything else, you probably cannot. So you need to get better and deliver great service as a small company. As a big company, you just have to make sure that your reputation doesn't get damaged or too damaged in the case of huge companies.
100%, 100%. So obviously, when small businesses stand out, you need to differentiate, position yourself, and what you just said. Use your weaknesses for your strengths. Be that David that faced Goliath. What other advice do you have for small businesses in the marketplace?
For small businesses, I had a customer do like a 200% revenue increase just out of personality, and this is gonna sound so illogical to people, but the thing is, you can turn a personality into a system. We had this company in Italy, I was a small founder, and turns out that he was this very light-hearted, funny, just trickster of a guy, and part of his service delivery to customers was literally how he was with them, playing with them, joking around, talking them up. We were just like, why don't we make this part of what you do, right? Why doesn't this become the theme of your entire business? This is how we do business. It's serious and we give quality service, but when you walk through the door, we play with you as if you were our best friend from high school. That turned into a 200% revenue increase once we applied that to marketing and sales. And it was mostly organic. So small businesses should lean again into what makes them unique. If you're a small business that's been established for a long time, try to find out why people been walking through your door every day. What keeps them coming? There is something that you do that keeps them coming. For example, I got a Vodafone consultant for my phone bill and my services. His name is David. I used to live in the town where David works. That's how I met him. And now every time I did anything, every time Vodafone calls me and they offer me something, I say, no, thank you. And then I go to David and ask him if what they offered is true. And if it's true, how I can get it. And he will give it to me. But here's the caveat. To go see David, I have to travel 45 minutes. And every time I need to do anything regarding my phone, my bill, I travel 45 minutes one way and the other just to go see David. Why? because every time I'm there, he finds the best deals he can get me. I see him put the effort for me. He speaks languages I speak,
Mhm.
and he finds solution that somebody on the phone that doesn't know me cannot find because he cares about me. So care is why I walk through his door. And in the 5 years I've known David, his Vodafone store has grown a lot. You see him now, he looks like a full-on CEO in that store. Why? Because he applies the same quality service to everybody. So find out why your customers are coming to you and do more of that. That's the big advice for small business. And if you're a small business and you are undifferentiated, find that something that will make you unique. And again, you don't have to figure out on your own. If you need advice, hire somebody to help you. All strategy, all consulting, it's not all for million dollar companies or billion-dollar companies. You can get that at any level from quality people.
For sure. I don't think it takes anything away from you. I feel like some people are those starting out feel like, oh, I have to be a natural business. I have to know all of it. I have to like have it all figured out. So if like ask for help or ask for a business coach or ask for advice, it like takes away from my talent
It doesn't.
at all.
It doesn't. You have to actually like if us people, I just told you that I got a mentorship. What does that mean? That I needed help too. It's perfectly fine. If we were able to figure it out our entire life by ourselves, everybody will have a perfect life and a perfect business, but that's not the case. 90% of businesses fail. Why? Part of it is for sure because business owners think they gotta be this superhero that is supposed to magically figure out things that they don't teach you in school. Just go to business school. Go to I've interviewed people who have done MBAs. I'm like, hey, do they teach you positioning in school? They're like, well, we mention it, but it's not a big deal. So it's not a big deal. That's everything. What do they teach you? The spreadsheets. So even if you go to an MBA, you don't have all the tools you need in the real world. So that's why we need help. All of us we need help. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. So you're perfect. Anybody listening, it's fine to ask for help. It's actually going to grow your business faster than you smashing your head against the wall trying to solve an issue.
100%, 100%. I feel like a lot of the tactics that you describe to businesses, you can describe for personal branding, but I feel like lots of people don't differentiate themselves when it comes to personal branding. Is that what you see? Or how would you recommend differentiating yourself?
It's absolutely true. And there is so much. My mentor was talking about this the other day. He's so right. There is so much bullshit around. You listen to some of these creators. I'm not gonna say the names of these big creators that say this, but you know them probably. They will get you into the online business space and they will tell you build a personal brand, and then you will hear the magic sentence, build a niche of one. It sounds nice. Everybody would like to be a niche of one, but I'm sorry, in any market, no, I don't care what you're selling. Even drug dealers got competition. You will have competition. And the moment you have competition, even if it's two people, you need to differentiate. What I see in the personal branding space, it's like watching a Star Wars movie where you see the stormtroopers all dressed in white, an army of people. And you know what the stormtroopers have in common? They all shoot in one direction and they always miss the mark, the target. And that's exactly what personal brands and small businesses do. They're all targeting the same audience. They all miss the mark. In favor of who? People that have 200,000 followers, people that have 50,000 followers. Why? Because you have no substance. You took your business model from somebody else, or at least it looks like it, and you are not conveying to people either one, which problems you solve, or two, why you should fix it for them. And then we come into the issue that, yes, if I start communicating why, I need to start niching down first. And second, some people will not want to work with me. And that's true. But guess what? Until you do that, nobody will want to work with you.
Yeah, and in your book you said some people, a lot of people are afraid of leaving dollars on the what they
Yes.
call it. But it's like
People
you
are.
don't leaving dollars anyway.
Yes. Well, what's the point? I'm afraid to leave dollars on the table. Which dollars? Wouldn't you rather make some money serving, I don't know, giving copywriting to plumbing companies rather than trying to be fancy and doing copywriting for anybody and making, the difference is like you could make 1K a month doing copywriting for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You could maybe make 10K a month doing copywriting for plumbing company if that works.
Or I
There's
get these
this.
messages. I get these messages. I do LinkedIn and Instagram and social media outreach and email and marketing, and it's like they do a list of like 70 different things, and you're like, just choose one and be the best at it. Like, why do you have
Yes,
to like market all 70?
and it's not a critique. It comes from a good place.
For sure.
People, first of all, people want to deliver a lot to clients, so they start learning more skills. It's all fine with that. Second of all, and I've seen this a lot, some people start panicking. Some people see, oh my God, I'm not getting clients. And in their minds, since they try to do everything alone, in their minds rationalizes this as not enough clients means my offer is not complete enough. So I just need to start adding skills to this and adding things to the service. It doesn't work that way, because then you become, you become one of those beauty shops where they do everything from liposuction to eyebrows, and you don't know, and women don't know if they should trust them because these guys do everything. They're not specialized. People love specialists, and of course, you can be a specialist, and your specialty could be top of the funnel. You can bring in people to your specialty, and then you upsell them and downsell them into all this other stuff you learn how to do. But just don't go around telling people, hey, I'm a one-man marketing team and I can cover 15 roles in one. Just pay me the $100,000 you're paying to your CMO and you can fire everybody. Because everybody knows it's bullshit. It's not going to happen.
And I'd rather have one person that's like amazing at something than someone that's like average at everything.
Yes, there is this guy, I met him on Twitter. I don't think he's on LinkedIn. He's called George 10. And George 10 is a legendary copywriter, and he has an amazing community that teaches copywriting.
Mm-hmm.
His thing is actually copy thinking, because he says that writing is thinking, but that's another topic. His thing is copy. He's not going around building brands. He's not going around doing anything but copy, because this guy has run hyper successful ads and made millions for his clients, and he's hyper expensive. Now, you want to work with a guy like that because number one, he's obsessed with his craft. And that's one thing you want in a provider. Number two, he's just good because it looks cool. Like, people have this scarcity mindset and they say, okay, I'm going to hire this specialist that's average at everything because it's going to save me money rather than paying the big dog that's going to charge me a lot. But you end up losing more money on the long run because the mediocre guy that does everything doesn't deliver actually any good results in anything.
When it comes to your business and the brand you're running currently, how's that been going?
How's that been going? It's been going well. Now, as I told you, got a mentor, needed some things to fix. I found out that Solomon's paradox is real. Solomon's paradox is when you have a great deal of solutions for others, but then when it comes down to solving your own problems, like, you get stuck. So I found out two things. One, you need help when you get there. If you need to take your business to the next level, you need to get help and get advice from somebody that did it already. The other thing is, if you want to at least start dealing with Solomon's paradox on your own, write down your issues and think about them as if a client was telling them to you. Or even better, write down your issues, send that list to a friend of yours that's in business, and have that friend, after 3 weeks, read them back to you, and you advise him. And you're going to come up with a lot of solutions for yourself because you finally managed to be able to get off your head. Now, you do need mentors. And regarding to how the business is going, I'm pretty happy, I'm pretty happy. And my goal right now is serving more and bigger companies because I just love big challenges.
I love that. Wrapping up the show, you have a couple stories in your book about brands that listened to you and brands that did not. One of the examples you said was the QR code. And you said, hey, let's do this. And they didn't listen. Do you want to describe that story?
Well, I was dealing with this small robotics company somewhere in Germany. And it was pre-pandemic. And, I had this fascination. And I had just moved to Germany. And I had this fascination with QR codes because they were a new thing back then. I mean, relatively new. They were hitting the mainstream. And the CMO, who just happened to be a relative of the founder, The CMO was a person who had been in television. She did advertising, like television ads, and print ads. She was printing stuff for advertising in the 90s. And many people work in companies and run companies, they never evolve past what they did in school or at their first jobs. That was her case. Now she goes, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, when we go, I tell her, we should put like QR codes on business cards, and you go to so many trade shows that your banners should have QR codes. Just let people contact you easier, like make it easier for them. And she looks at me like disgusted, literally. She goes, QR codes? Is that a thing you do in Italy or something? That will never work in Germany. I was like, okay, do what you want. Now, lo and behold, the pandemic hits. We stopped working together. And the first thing that becomes ubiquitous during the pandemic is fucking QR codes. And now every time I see a QR code, I think of that marketing director, and I'm thinking, I hope every time you do think of you see a QR code, you remember me, because I was right that time. Like if she implemented the QR code, she would have been one of the first in her damn industry, because I noticed that nobody was doing it. But she didn't, because that's a thing they do in Italy. The pandemic put them everywhere, like menus and this and that, QR codes, everything. Now you see them on YouTube videos. People put them on the screen. Like Patrick Bet David. You want to meet next someone, it's on the screen. It's a funny story, that you have to get out of your own head and see what's happening around you. And she didn't back then. And in many ways, that was just one example. But that company paid a harsh price for not doing the stuff, not only that I told them to do, but for not evolving with times. They paid a big price.
Mm-hmm. And that, you said you were reading this book recently, Day Trading Attention. Mm-hmm. That's what Gary Vee talks about a lot. It's like, hey, and I saw that recently as well. Or like beginning TikTok, I was like, oh, this guy lawnmowers on TikTok, and he's a lawnmower business. This is a plumber, and he's on TikTok. That's like those that are early, that see the opportunity and aren't just like, yeah, this won't work in my industry. They have an advantage because of that.
Yes. I mean, and it's funny, right? Because from one side, there is the misconception that TikTok is still 2017 TikTok with underage girls dancing. I understand nobody wants to be part of that, but it's been 7 years. Like right now, your competitor is actually using TikTok to steal your market share. Now, what's the issue? That I understand it's hard. I understand you have time constraints. I understand you're busy. Even I myself, I'm not on TikTok yet, and I don't do a great job about that. But the reality is that I'm not denying social media. I know that I'm missing out, and I need to fix that. But most people are denying it, and we are past that point. And we need to accept that in this new world, you have the opportunity to, which sounds like makes me feel dumb for not doubling down on it now, but it is what it is because of priorities. But you have the opportunity to get your message across to the people that would buy from you for free. Like radio advertising is expensive, television advertising is expensive, nobody reads billboards. You could just post on TikTok, find a nice format that reflects your business, and people will start trusting you more, because business is about trust. And in the end, all the stuff we talked about, positioning and playing to your strengths and all these things, come down to building trust. And that's the social media comes down to building trust at scale over time. Now, the part that people don't like is over time. But everybody wants to be Alex Hormozi after he has 5 million followers. Cool. 4 years ago, Alex Hormozi was a nobody online and just a millionaire offline. Now he's got both. So I think my advice would be to myself, to you, to people, it will suck at the beginning being on social media. You will produce terrible content. We will produce terrible content. But if we just let it suck and apply some Taoism and just flow with it, it will compound. It's like investing, right? You put $200 a month or $500 a month in this stock in this ETF, whatever you decide, whatever vehicle you pick, it doesn't look like anything in 2 years, in 5 years, but in 10 and 20, it looks huge. And we see the same compounding on social media because, you get better. You have data to just, like Gary Vee says, you have data to match your content to and say, this performs, this doesn't. You analyze why, you do more of that. So we have an opportunity and we should be using it.
I wrote a post about this on LinkedIn earlier today, and I was like, lots of people are like, I don't have ideas, I don't know what to do, I don't know the format, I don't know like how to write, I don't know what the audience wants, I don't know what my brand is. But all those things I found solved by posting daily. Because posting daily, you always have ideas coming of, oh, this is what I can post, this is what I can post. You figure out what works with the audience when it comes to formats. You consume other people's content and you figure out what works and what doesn't work. And you realize, going back to brand, you realize what hits and what doesn't, and that helps you figure out how to frame your brand to the audience.
Yes, and people say they lack content ideas, and you can fix this through market research and knowing what the customer wants. Or you can just observe. Let's say that you have a day job and you don't like how they run things in your expertise. You start talking about it. Of course, don't say my boss is shit on the LinkedIn where your boss is reading. It's just post your best practices. Post your opinion on things going on and just don't say it's your company. Or open another LinkedIn profile and start talking about what you think. Or even better, just observe. What is this person talking about on LinkedIn that does my same job and I don't agree with? Don't just keep the disagreement in your head. Post about it. Or just take another professional like you and I are doing, take a friend, sit down, record the session, and talk about the things you both see that are wrong with the market. And then a 1 hour interview, a 1 hour conversation, you put it on AI software, boom, you have 20 clips of you talking about your expertise with another expert that you can turn into content, which again makes it easier for people that like me that not necessarily love being alone with the camera and love more the interaction, the human interaction. Just record conversations.
100%, 100%. I have 2 last questions.
Let's
So
go.
first for young people, there's those that have a personal brand, and those that I don't see the value of it, because it's like, I don't want to run a business. I just want to like have a career. What advice do you have for them, or do you think it's a necessity to have a personal brand?
Everybody's got a personal brand, right? In high school, I used to be the kid dressed in black that didn't talk to nobody because I was just having my headphones on the whole day. That's a brand because the entire school knew me for it. Anything, your brand is just what people say about you when you're not there. Your brand is how people perceive you. Your brand is your reputation at scale. All these definitions come down that all of us have a brand. Among your employees, if you have employees, you have a brand. In your family, you have a brand. Now, your job is to take one version of you and you get to pick that. You don't have to share your family. You don't have to share your girlfriend, your dog, your kid. You get to decide which version of you shows up online, and you get to be appreciated by that. Like, you invited me here because you enjoyed how I think by reading my post. That's huge. It's an opportunity that I wouldn't have gotten if I never started a LinkedIn profile, right? I have in my contact list, and I talked to people that 1 year ago had 100 followers on LinkedIn, and now they have 15,000, and they see me as a great friend because we had a conversation like this 1 year ago or 1 year and a half. Those are things you don't get to have if you don't start building online. So I think my advice to people who don't believe in personal brands is like, if you don't believe in a personal brand, you don't believe that you exist because you have a personal brand in real life. So you might as well extend it online, run it by your own rules. Don't pay attention to your colleague who is taking selfies all day if you don't like that. I don't post selfies. Braden doesn't post selfies. You can just post your opinion on things. You can just record a podcast. You can just read a book and summarize it, share your thoughts. You can take a piece of news from TechCrunch and comment on it. If you like politics, you can take a clip from Trump and Biden debating and give your thoughts on it. It's just, in the end, there are 1,000 personal brand experts that want to make money off of you. And some of them are very well worth paying But the very basics of personal branding is simple and you can do it. Is share your thoughts online about stuff you know about because you have a unique perspective. At some point, somebody will like you for that perspective and they will invite you on a show. And that's when you know it's working.
100%, 100%. And then the second, when it comes down to, you said when you frame your position, you frame what the problem is and why you do it. When it comes to like something like this show, how would you frame it?
Interesting. So you mean how you would position the show, basically, what the show is solving for? Well, the problem. Braden listens to podcasts and he loves podcasting as a consumer, but the interviewers are not asking the questions he would like to ask them. So Braden has created a podcast where he asks unique questions to people he finds unique, trying to bring out the most value for the audience. Problem and solution. So the audience gets to learn something, and they should listen to this podcast because the quality of the questions you ask is not the same quality they would find in another show, because you are actively trying to avoid looking like another show.
And then when it comes to posting that, obviously, what's it called? You post your show, right? And you post on other social media. Would you just post that idea, or what would you post to get them to the show?
I would try to frame it in a sentence like, damn, this is a live exercise. Like people are watching it. Now I understand that a quote I heard yesterday. Now, it would be something like, I ask unconventional questions to unconventional thinkers. Now that might not be my best work because I came up with it on the fly, but that is something I could stick, I think. Unconventional questions to unconventional thinkers.
I like it. And then finally, the final section of the show. Where can people find you first?
Well, find me on LinkedIn, Sebastian DP Hidalgo. You can find me on Amazon if you want to buy my book, Are You Ford or Ferrari? It's got it there, and thank you for getting it, by the way. I hope you liked it.
100%.
You can also find me on Twitter at the Sebas Hidalgo. And yeah, for now, that's where you can find me. I have a YouTube channel, but I have been slacking a bit on it, but I will kick it back up. But that will come soon. So Twitter, Amazon, and LinkedIn. If any of you listening get the book, please give me your opinion and leave a review. Massively appreciate it. And yeah, that's more or less where you can find me. My DMs are always open, by the way. So people listening can always shoot me a message and we'll reply within reasonable time.
100%, 100%. And finally, what's your millionaire insight for the audience?
Oh, two things. The first one is do the scary thing, because sometimes you need to kick yourself out of the comfort zone. And the second thing is invest in yourself. Stop thinking you will figure it out on your own. It's just, you will save yourself a bunch of suffering. And that might even be the first one, right? Because investing in yourself, I know by experience, requires you to do the scary thing, because investing in yourself, it can start with something as simple as reading books. But when you really get to high levels, it starts costing what it's worth. And when you get there, you still need to pull the trigger. Do that thing, invest in yourself, get guidance. Without guidance, back to the Bible, if you insist of trying to become who you want to be by keep on being who you've always been, it will take you 10 times as long to get to your destination. Just like in the Bible, the people of Israel managed to turn a 7-day trip into a 40-year odyssey through the desert because they kept disobeying, because they kept wanting to go back to Egypt. And that turned a few days trip into a 40-year odyssey. Now, this is not an original thought. I developed that idea from Dr. Myron Golden, whom I mentioned before. So don't quote me on that, quote him. But that's the thing. In order to achieve those goals you want to be, you have to be a person that takes risks you're afraid of and invests in things you have never invested in. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
Thank you for that. And thank you, Sebastian, for hopping on the show.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.